Here we are on page 209. We're looking at number 11. We've got a 0.51, and we've got this graph here. We got this function of y equals 3 minus 10 over x. And what happens is that this 0.51 is on that graph. And then we want to show that 5x plus 2y minus 27, or equals 27, is the normal. So the first thing we're going to do is find the derivative of this thing. And we find out that it's going to be 10 to the x to the negative 2, or 10 over x squared. Then we're going to use this derivative to find the slope of the tangent line. We're going to plug in the x of the point that we know is where these two things meet. We plug that in, we find out that the slope of the tangent line is 2/5. So that means that the normal, or the perpendicular slope, is going to be negative 5/2. The point is going to be 5,1. So all we've got to do now is find the equation. We plug in to y equals mx plus b, and then we solve for b, and we find out that b is going to be 27 over 2. And now that we know what that is, all we've got to do is put that together with the slope, and we'll have our equation of our normal, and that's going to be y equals negative 5/2 x plus 27/2. Now that doesn't look like what they have. You've got 5x plus 2y equals 27, but all we've got to do is multiply everything by 2 and then rearrange it, and it is going to look like what theirs does. And we're good to go. All right, so the second part is they want us to find coordinates q. Q is where the normal intersects with the original. And we know both those functions because we just found the normal. That's y equals, I'm going to change this to a decimal, and negative 2.5x plus 13.5. And then the original is y equals 3 minus 10 over x. Since both these y's are the same point, going to be equal to each other, we can make the other parts equal to each other. And that's going to give us 3 minus 10 over x is equal to negative 2.5x plus 13.5. Well, now all we're going to do is get the x by itself. First thing I'm going to do is subtract the 3 on both sides. And then I see this pesky fraction, so what I'm going to do to get rid of it is I'm going to multiply everything by x. And what happens is these two x's cancel out, giving me negative 10. And then it's going to equal negative 2.5x squared plus 10.5x. I see immediately this is a quadratic, so I try to make the square term positive, get everything on the one side, make it equal to 0. I really don't like this 2.5, and I can fix that by multiplying everything by 2. So then I get 5x squared minus 21x minus 20 is equal to 0. I use the x factor to figure out what my x's are. I find out that the x's are going to be 5 and negative 4/5. I already expected one of them to be 5 because that was one of our points that we knew about. That's 5,1. So that's the y value that goes with 5. I've got to take the negative 4/5 and plug it back into one of the original equations. Doesn't matter which one, but this one looks a little bit easier. And so I'm going to change my negative 4/5 to a decimal to negative 0.8. And then all I got to do now is get the y by itself, and I'm going to find out that that's going to be 15.8. So those are my 2 points, P and Q. So now the next part, they want to find the midpoint of P and Q. Well, all I've got to do is add the x's together and divide by 2, and then add the y's together and divide by 2. And I've got it made. And that's going to give me a midpoint of 2.1, 8.25. All right, hope that helps. Thanks for watching.